I mean, incredible legacy, arguably the greatest monarch that's ever lived. If you speak to some historians, they would argue that because of the tumultuous period in modern history that she oversaw and ended up being more popular at the end of her reign, or the twilight of her reign as we are now, than she was right at the beginning. So an extraordinary reign and a truly global figure. We haven't had an update for an hour or so. I think the next update we'll have is when all of the members of the royal family have arrived at Balmoral. At that point, they will have a time to regroup and share news together, and then they'll be ready to tell the wider world. Initially, the Prime Minister, ambassadors around the world, also governors general around the world. So there's a process to go through to give an update on the Queen's health. It is obviously a serious update. We don't know what that is. We will find out when the public finds out. But I think we need all of the members of the royal family to be within the castle for that to happen. They're currently in transit. I understand that some of them have arrived at Aberdeen Airport, and that's about an hour away from Balmoral. So we're expecting some sort of update in the next couple of hours.
Well, thank you very much, Scott McLean and Max Foster, really for helping guide us through all of this news of such importance to the world. Thanks to all of you for joining us today. We will see you right back here tomorrow morning. I'm Poppy Harlow.
And I'm Jim Sciutto. Anderson Cooper will pick up our special coverage right after a quick break.
An unpredictable environment. My show brings you the latest news and top news makers.
Amanpour, tonight on CNN.
I'm Jim Bitterman in Paris, and this is CNN.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson.
It all starts here. Changing, fighting, creating, connecting. Real news that shapes our world. Getting perspective on this region from this region. Places that many of us know, but few of us get to see. It all starts here. And that's why we're here, bringing you the world from our Middle Eastern hub.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson, Monday through Friday on CNN.
Our CNN team is here.
From Hong Kong to Beijing and Dubai, London and New York.
CNN, covering the world's business.
all of these supply chain disruptions, have just given us such a stark wake-up call. And I call it that we've gone from just-in-time supply chains, and what we need to do is go to just-in-case supply chains. We need resilience in all of these, things. And I've said, geopolitics across the world has been defined by where the oil reserves are for the last 5 decades. For the next several decades, where the fabs are is more important, because every aspect of human existence is becoming more digital. Everything digital runs on semiconductors. Build the fabs where we want them. And how are the next generation of, self-driving tractors and automation of food generation? It's all based on digital. So, it is so foundational to every aspect of human existence.
I'm Patrick Ottman in Havana, Cuba, and this is CNN.
This is CNN Breaking News.
I'm Anderson Cooper, welcoming our viewers in the United States and around the world. I want to get straight to the breaking news and the health of Britain's 96-year-old Queen Elizabeth II. Buckingham Palace putting the country and the world on alert with a statement saying, quote, following further evaluation this morning, the Queen's doctors are concerned for Her Majesty's health and have recommended she remain under medical supervision. The Queen's children and other immediate family members rushing to her side at the Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Joining me now is CNN's Max Foster, live from London outside Buckingham Palace. Also CNN's Scott McLean. McLean is outside Windsor Castle. Max, first to you, what more do we know about the Queen's health at this moment?
Well, they described it as concern. Doctors concerned about the Queen's health. They very rarely put any statements out about her health, and they never speak in such stark language. So that is very concerned in the rest of our languages. We also know that the Queen is at the castle. She is being overseen for medical attention. She's not being taken to a hospital. Read into that what you will. The bigger concern is that all the family have dropped everything that they were doing, and they headed immediately to Balmoral. Prince Charles is already there, as is Princess Anne. I understand that other members of the royal family have landed at the airport about an hour away. I don't expect to get any more update until the whole family are within the castle and they've been informed personally about what is a big family moment. I think we can also read into the fact that Prince Harry and Meghan, who were in the UK, have also dropped everything, are also heading to Scotland and putting all their personal differences with the rest of the family behind them to be with the rest of the family. So that is also very significant. We've had the Archbishop of Canterbury, the most senior member of the Queen's Church, the Church of England, tweeting that he is praying for the Queen. He would have some inside access to information at the palace. We've also had the Prime Minister as well, also tweeting about her level of concern. So I have to say, a very strange atmosphere in the UK right now. People are sort of finishing up work, finishing up school. Everyone, I'm getting multiple texts every minute asking, is she okay? I can't tell them if she's okay, but all the networks are in rolling coverage, and the palace aren't asking us to dial down in any way, which suggests we are at the right level of concern.
Max, we're looking at a picture of an aircraft on the tarmac at Aberdeen, Scotland, which is the closest airport, I guess, to Balmoral. Talk a little bit, if you can, about which family members that we know are now in attendance. We don't know, we're told some members of the royal family were on that plane. We don't know who flew in on that plane. I understand Harry and Meghan had already been in England and were said to be heading toward Balmoral, as well as Prince William, and I believe all of her children are already there. Is that correct?
It's all slightly disjointed because they all have different spokespeople at the moment. So I would imagine on that plane is certainly Prince Edward and Sophie, his wife. I also imagine that Prince Andrew is on that flight, although we've had separate confirmation that he's going up to Balmoral. He's got a separate team now. Again, the Sussexes have got a separate team as well. They could all be on that flight. We expect most of them to be on that flight, and then it's about an hour's drive to Balmoral, at which point there will be a moment, I'm sure, in the castle where there will be a briefing for the whole family. And after that point, if there is a big announcement to be made, it'll be first the Prime Minister who's informed, and then it'll be governors general around the world, so particularly countries like Canada and Australia, where the Queen is head of state. Those prime ministers as well will also be informed. Then there'll be ambassadors. The US ambassador will be early to know as well. And then there'll be a public statement of some kind. I'm expecting a statement in about an hour's time, if I'm honest, because I think that's when the family will arrive at Balmoral Castle, and they'll be very keen to get information out as quickly as possible before there are any leaks. They're trying to keep control of all of this. We don't know what the announcement is, Anderson, but it is grave, and it could be anything from the fact that she's delegating some authorities to Prince Charles to obviously the thing that everyone's fearing right now. But we're going to have to wait for the formal announcement, which will be made publicly on the website in an email to me as well, to make any official comment on what's actually going on up there.
Max, if you could just talk a little bit about the Queen's health over this past year. She did have COVID months ago. She recovered from that. She was making public appearances again. How has her health been?
Well, she's definitely physically looked weaker over the past year, certainly since Prince Philip died, I would say. There was initial concern last year when she was seen at a church service and she was walking with a cane. There was then a story that got leaked that she had visited a hospital. We weren't told about that. After the event, we were told, well, we're not going to tell you about every visit to hospital. We'll only tell you if there's a major update or a procedure. So that's why we know that something serious has happened, because they're giving us an update. Now, what is the underlying cause of this mobility issue? We don't know. She's certainly going into hospital and getting checkups all the time. Checkups that can't be done in the palace by the palace doctors. So we don't know what the underlying cause is, just as we never knew what the underlying cause was for Prince Philip. But we know that she has had mobility issues which have restricted her. And that really came to the fore last night. We were very concerned when we heard that there was a Privy Council meeting, which is a core constitutional meeting, where the Prime Minister, Liz Truss, was due to be sworn in. And that was a Zoom call from Balmoral to the Privy Council. And the Queen couldn't even do that. She couldn't even do a Zoom call. So that shows how concerned they were last night, although they said she was comfortable this morning. So we'll wait to see what changed, if anything, in the hours that came after that, and where we started hearing about visits to Balmoral from the rest of the family.
She also made her first public appearance in some time just recently at Balmoral, being introduced to the new British Prime Minister, as well as in a meeting with Boris Johnson, the outgoing Prime Minister.
Yeah, much was made of the images there. She looked frail, her hand was blue, but she was standing, and she's 96 years old, and we weren't being told that she felt in any way uncomfortable. That's a very standard single image that we would get from one of these meetings. Nothing was hidden really there in terms of previous protocol. But obviously a lot on social media people were talking about how she looked, but she was standing, so we felt it was probably okay. It was only until the next day when she couldn't carry out that virtual meeting, and we were told that she had overexerted herself at the meeting with Liz Truss. And that's just a very basic meeting in her castle. So she's obviously overdone it. I think the doctors who do take control, it has to be said, when things get really serious with the Queen, they may well have advised that she can't do any more of these meetings, even the most basic core meetings like that one. So the update we might get is that she's unable to carry out her public duties and maybe delegating to her councillors of state, as they're known, who are Prince William and Prince Charles. We'll wait to see if that's the case when we get the announcement a bit later on. But they have to give an update, because I have to say the world's media are here and the public are really, really concerned. You can see that. There's a different atmosphere in London today.
Max, also, the Queen is, as we said, is at Balmoral in Scotland. We saw that aircraft at the airport in Aberdeen. Could you just talk about the importance of Balmoral to the Queen? American viewers might remember, and viewers around the world may remember, Balmoral is where then Prince Harry and Prince William were when they learned of the death of their mother.
So Balmoral is the Queen's summer residence. It's a castle in Scotland. It's very hidden away. It's a massive estate, and she loves her time there. and they do country pursuits. They go out hunting and shooting and fishing. That's what it's all about. It's interesting that Meghan, I know, felt a bit uncomfortable there, as did Diana, frankly, because they didn't. It's very rough and ready. It's not as you would imagine sort of a glamorous royal life to be. It's a proper country hardy wear with the Queen driving her Land Rover around the estate until very recently. You're right, the symbolism of the place is that that's where Harry and William were staying when they heard the news that Diana had died in a car crash in Paris, and Prince Charles was there and the Queen was there, and they hunkered down and they protected those boys. And there was a bit of a backlash after a while because the public wanted to see the Queen. They looked to the Queen in moments of mourning, and there was a backlash largely based, I have to say, on the palace here, because the flag wasn't taken to half-mast, which is what the public was pushing for, what the British tabloids were pushing for. But that was unprecedented. That is never done over a palace unless there's even if there's a death of a monarch. And there was a big backlash and then huge pressure on the Queen to appear and come down to London and mourn with the public. But of course she was mourning with her boys, and that was her priority, and she suffered, I have to say. Her reputation suffered hugely as a result of that, but no regrets, I don't think, on her part, that she put family first. But it was a reminder that she doesn't just have a duty to the family, she also has a duty to the country, and we do look to her. And if she weren't there in public life as much, I think the British public will be pretty shocked about how they feel, just as they were after the death of Diana.
It is her family who is gathering now to be with her, to be near her. We should point out Balmoral, which has been so important to Queen Elizabeth, became part of the royal family when Prince Albert bought it for his wife, then Queen Victoria. I think it was in 1852. Max Foster, standby in London. Scott McLean is outside Windsor Castle for us. Scott, what is the mood there? What are you hearing?
Hey, Anderson. Yeah, so as Max pointed out earlier, this is the normal residence of Queen Elizabeth. She's at her summer home in Balmoral, Scotland right now, but normally she would be here. This is obviously a sprawling castle grounds here, and it is open for tours today. So we've been watching people and talking to them as they've come out of the castle for the time that we've been here. And what's really interesting is that many hadn't heard anything. Many people are completely unaware of this news about the Queen's health at all, and so they're sort of turning to the assembled press, wondering why on earth we're all here. Other people have, read the headlines, but the information is so scant at this point that they're sort of left to draw whatever conclusion that they can, which isn't a whole lot. What's also interesting, Anderson, is that Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, Prince William's wife, she is still here in Windsor. The timing of this news is really interesting because the kids had just moved, the entire family actually had just moved from London, where they'd been staying in Kensington Palace in central London, and they had moved here to a house on the grounds called Adelaide House, a 4-bedroom house where they moved to give the kids a bit more privacy, to give their kids a bit more of a normal life. Yesterday, there was a photo opportunity where both William and Kate dropped the 3 kids off at school, George, Louis, Charlotte, at their new school to at least check it out. Today, though, was their first official day, and what a strange day it must have been for those kids with all, of course, this news coming out of Balmoral, Scotland, and all of these question marks about the Queen's health, Anderson.
And we should point out, Scott, the latest information that we have is that Prince Charles and his wife Camilla are at Balmoral. The Queen's daughter, Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, is said to be also at Balmoral. Prince Andrew, Prince Edward are said to be on their way there. Again, there, as Max Foster was saying, there's different spokespeople, so exactly pinpointing their exact location, so it's a little bit tricky. Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, is said to be traveling there. As you said, his wife, Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge, is still at Windsor because it's their kid's first day of school. And Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who were in England, are also said to be traveling to Balmoral, according to a spokesperson. So we're trying to find out exactly when they plan to get there. We did see that aircraft on the tarmac in Aberdeen. I want to take a short break. We're going to come back with our continuing coverage from Great Britain. We'll be right back.
African Voices Changemakers. create opportunities, impact communities, transform lives. Runners go the extra mile to inspire a new generation of athletes.
You've got to make the most of every moment. Running is just one way to express really my joy for life and just giving it my all.
African Voices Changemakers, only on CNN, in association with Glow.
In the hub, where East meets West, CNN Arabic is perfectly placed to find the facts. This is where stories happen.
It's a concern to a lot of us in the region.
Politics, business, culture, real life. As the pace of change moves faster, we ask the important question: what is the truth? This is CNNArabic.com.
How will crypto define the future of finance?
What is China's long game? What about all the change in Europe? And how do you fit in?
The CNN team is here
with the right expertise to pursue the answers.
From Hong Kong to Beijing, in Dubai, London, and New York, CNN covering the world's business.
Back now to our continuing coverage. More of the breaking news. Doctors are monitoring the health of Britain's Queen Elizabeth II. Buckingham Palace has put out the following statement, and I quote, "Following further evaluation this morning, the Queen's doctors are concerned for Her Majesty's health and have recommended she remain under medical supervision. Her family is rushing to be at her side." CNN's Max Foster is live for us from London outside Buckingham Palace. Max, obviously this is a family which the world has followed, their ups and downs, the tensions within the family. Clearly, it seems all members of this family are trying to, if they're not already at Balmoral, get there and all be there together.
So Prince William and Prince Harry haven't done anything together since a moment where they unveiled a statue for their mother Diana at Kensington Palace. There's a massive rift there, but what's happened here is that Harry and Meghan and William are all heading in the same direction. They're putting all their differences behind. You can't really underestimate the tension between those two. There's a deep distrust, and they literally are not having anything to do with each other. So the fact that they've gone up there to be together it really shows the gravity of all going up there together. Also, Meghan has got a lot of tension with other members of the family, but they're all there together. Prince Edward and Andrew as well. Prince Andrew hasn't been involved in any sort of public events at all in the royal family since a scandal involving him and that court case in New York. So I think the significance of them all coming together is big, and also the fact that they've all dropped everything to go up there today. And that private jet was organised pretty last minute, so there's been a turn of events up there. I think Balmoral is also a very safe space for them all. It's somewhere where they all have these summer holidays, and it's something, there's lots of space up there for them. So we'll wait to see how things are handled from here. But as soon as we get the first sorts of announcements, we'll get a better sense of how serious this is for the Queen. But she's certainly out of action to some extent. The fact that she's cancelled even the most central constitutional duties, and now the family are gathering, and we've been told that it's a serious situation for the Queen.
Yeah, Max Foster in London. I want to bring in CNN's chief international anchor, Christiane Amanpour. Christiane, when one looks and thinks back on the Queen's reign, more than 70 years she has reigned, the longest-serving British monarch in history, the sixth woman to take the throne ever in British history. And I read a statistic which more than 80% of the British public has lived their entire life with Queen Elizabeth on the throne.
That's exactly right. I mean, look, her reign is much longer than any of us, our lifespans. And it is extraordinary. On that Buckingham Palace balcony behind us all, the last time we saw her there doing her royal thing was during the celebration of that Platinum Jubilee. It was in early June, and she did come out. It was a sort of a pared back appearance by her, because she was meant to take part in many other parts of this long weekend celebration, but she couldn't. But nonetheless, she did appear, and then again with the whole family. And I think the people here were really grateful to be able to see her. The history of her reign is also colossal, because it began almost accidentally. She wasn't meant to be. She wasn't the crown princess. She only became the heir when her father became king, because his brother, Edward VIII, had to abdicate because he wanted to marry an American divorcee, Wallis Simpson. Now, we're going way, way back, but that's what happened, and that's what brought her father to be king during the war, and he and the family, including Queen Elizabeth, then Princess Elizabeth and her sister, really did stand up and rally the British people. She was wearing a uniform, the Queen. She went out and did her military service, so to speak, in terms of engineering and actually working with some of the military vehicles. And she always spoke about it later in life, of how formative that period was. So just to say that that is such a life, defining experience to be brought up in. And then on her honeymoon, she was called back. In fact, it was Prince Philip who told her that the king had died, or it was a trip to Kenya, and anyway, they had to come back, and then she became queen. So yes, it was on her honeymoon, and there was that amazing coronation. I think it was the first televised in the Abbey, and it was extraordinary. So her reign also, as we've been saying, spanned the television age and was made for television. The family drama, you couldn't have written it. Well, it has actually been written, of course, in the Crown series, but it is a massive drama. But she herself has been this solid character, this woman of unfailing integrity, of absolutely determined duty, and she has never wavered from that. Yeah. And I think that is really what stands out through the turn of the century and through all the upheaval of the 21st century so far, starting with 9/11 and to where we are right now. And Anderson, the Queen is there to keep the people sort of together and unified, as well, celebrating as well as in great crises. And we are here in Britain in a great crisis right now, along with much of Europe. Inflation, energy exploding prices, the workers going on strike. It's a very unstable moment right now. New Prime Minister.
And one of her secretaries had said in the past that she's as constant as the North Star for Great Britain. And I think it's such an interesting idea. There is this steadiness in her reign, this resoluteness which you spoke about, which people have grown used to and accustomed to. She so embodies that sort of British spirit of just, keep calm, carry on. It sort of shakes the foundations not only of Great Britain, of the Commonwealth, to think of her, to think of anybody else on that throne.
Well, yes, Anderson, it really does, because, she was, I want to say she had an old-fashioned sense of responsibility, purpose, mission, and duty. And that is sort of out of vogue now. It just is. She's really the last one to embody that. And remember, she wasn't just the longest-serving, is not just the longest-serving British queen, but in history, the longest-serving monarch. There was a moment where there was a French Louis who was, served longer, but he was put on the throne at the age of 4. But so as a meaningful monarch, she has been the longest. So what does that mean? It's not just a milestone. It means that she has been involved in all the crucial moments of history, first and foremost, for the last 70 years, from the war to then the Cold War, to then the fall of the Berlin Wall. She went and visited Berlin in '65 when the wall was still up, and she went and visited afterwards. She was friends and allies and business partners with every president back to Harry Truman, although she met him before she became queen, but nonetheless. And she's had a very, very strong relationship with monarchs and people around the world through the Commonwealth. She also presided over essentially the disintegration of the Commonwealth as it was when she came into power. Now it's a much more loosely organized group of countries with independence, obviously. It wasn't this case when she became queen. And she's seen it all. She's seen the way history and democracy have come to their own, and she's seen the way democracy is under threat right now in our own backyard here in Europe.
Yeah, 14 U.S. presidents she has seen come and go, at least 15 British prime ministers, 7 popes as well, just 70 years on that throne. Christian, stay with us, Max Foster as well. We'll have more on the Queen next.
With an award-winning loyalty program at 6,000 IHG hotels and resorts worldwide.
Is your line blocked? Then move to Glow.
And experience extraordinary value with Brexit times 10.
Simple.
2 top-performing super funds have merged to form Australian Retirement Trust. Think of it as a super fund. You see, having 140 years of combined experience has its advantages. We're experienced enough to know market trends, but we're young enough to do things differently. Like investing in Swedish trains. But that's another story. Join more than 2 million members and put your super somewhere more super.
We're not just blood donors. We're the lifeblood of Australia. And together, we're a force to be reckoned with. Join us.
From next year, the VCE will include the new VCE vocational major, replacing VCAL. So, whatever your talent, pursue it under the new VCE. Search 1VCE. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Tell me the best thing that's happened while I was gone.
I made sure Dad ate healthy like you said. He even tried the broccoli. Eat it. Then I helped him make his work much better. And we found the perfect outfit to wear to my party. But I really needed to wind down before bed, so I turned my hand into a starfish.
My best thing is you being back.
I'm on the next level, yeah, I know you heard about it. You know I'm back.
Hi, sweetie. Hi, Mum.
New Mars honeycomb flavour with salted caramel.
Oh, it's very good.
Maria stands patiently with the Totsu. Few nerves jangling unsure in the barriers and amongst.
Take racing to the Ned's level. Back a horse in races 1 to 6 at Flemington on Maccabi Diva Stakes Day, and if it runs second or third, get up to $50 back in bonus cash. Take it to the Ned's level.
What's going on?
Yeah, purchase paralysis.
Purchase paralysis? With eBay's money back guarantee, you get what you ordered or your money back. I can move!
Browse, buy, carefree with eBay's money back guarantee.
This program is brought to you by Revitive Circulation Booster. Sit back, it's your Revitive time. Get back on your feet with Revitive.
Marketplace Asia.
I'm Julia Chatterley. I'll speak to newsmakers, risk takers, and the ultimate game changers.
First Move with Julia Chatterley. Weekdays on CNN.
I'm Larry Midowo in Kisumu, Kenya, and this is CNN.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong. But I shall not have strength to carry out this resolution alone, unless you join in it with me, as I now invite you to do. I know that your support will be unfailingly given. God help me to make good my vow, and God bless all of you who are willing to share in it.
Remarkable to see that on this day. That was then Princess Elizabeth on her 21st birthday, April 21st, 1947. That was about 4 years before she ascended to the throne. She ascended to the throne at the age of 25. Joining me now is CNN contributor Sally Bettel-Smith, author of Elizabeth the Queen, The Life of a Modern Monarch. Sally, as we are awaiting further news, and for viewers who are just joining us here in the United States or watching around the world, the Queen is said to be at Balmoral. The doctors are concerned for her health. She is obviously under their care and observation. A number of family members are already said to be there. Prince Charles and his wife Camilla are already said to be at Balmoral, as is Princess Anne. The Queen's son Prince Andrew is said to be traveling to Balmoral, as is Prince Edward, his wife Sophie, and Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, is said to be traveling there, as well as our Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who were already in the country at the time. What are your thoughts as we wait for word on the Queen?
Well, I'm so glad that she's being surrounded by her family, and also that she's in Balmoral. Balmoral is such an important place for her, and if she is indeed failing, I think she would want to be there and not in a hospital. I have an image in my mind of her in a baby carriage being lifted up the stairs of Balmoral. She spent so many summers there that were interrupted by World War II, but her family still managed to go up there even in the middle of war. It is where Prince Philip proposed to her in the summer of 1946. And, I remember a cousin of hers once said to me that, the Queen gets her tranquility from the hills of Balmoral and her energy from the burns and the streams. It's a place where she first caught her first salmon. It's where she did her first stalking. It's a place that has always been a happy gathering spot for the whole royal family.
We haven't seen much of her in recent weeks. We're showing pictures right now, which are the most recent pictures, which was her greeting the new British Prime Minister. She also said goodbye to the outgoing British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Mm-hmm. You noted that her canceling a meeting with her Privy Council yesterday was a key signal to you. Why did that stand out to you?
Well, it stood out because it was a virtual meeting, and for her not to be able to do that struck me as very significant, even as she had appeared frail. But she was upright, she had a cane, and she was smiling, and she was obviously, in her exchanges with the outgoing and incoming prime ministers. She looked to be animated, she looked to be engaged, and that the very next day she couldn't do that, I think, was very significant.
One of the things that I always have found so remarkable about Queen Elizabeth is that, and others have commented on this is not an original thought, but that she's so contained that people can sort of project whatever they want onto her. You can't really tell what she thinks about any particular thing for the most part. And that's by design. That's intentional on her part.
Yes, I think she has been, as someone once said, the light above politics. She has, even when I've watched her at royal events when somebody's doing a performance and she would hesitate to clap or smile. Because she didn't want to show favoritism. She hesitated to even name, what her favorite colors were, what her favorite flowers were. She has wanted to be a force really for everybody and the glue for the nation. And I think, that sort of impassive exterior has been very important, although behind the scenes she's been very animated, and everybody who is around her recognizes that smile and the laugh that has always been a very robust laugh. She knows who she is, and she knows what image she needs to project, and. She is impassive to the public because she needs to be.
Yeah, that is her role. She knows that. She knows who she is, and she knows what her role is and what her duty is. And duty has been obviously a key pillar of her life. Sally, we'll be checking in with you throughout the next hours. We'll be right back with more.
What do you see when you look at the surface? Just that, the surface. But dive deeper and new possibilities emerge. Essential intelligence from S&P Global takes you here, providing the data, risk assessment, and workflow solutions you need to plumb the wonders beneath. A better, more prosperous future awaits. It's yours for the seeking. S&P Global. Seek and prosper.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, we're in the business of you.
We're here to help you plug in,
connect, and recharge.
Make an impression,
and meet with confidence.
With 17 brands built for business,
your business gets even more rewarding.
With an award-winning loyalty program at 6,000 IHG hotels and resorts worldwide.
About time, we're getting back.
This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
Once in a lifetime, there are certain athletes who come along and they transcend the sport. Serena did that for tennis.
She's a powerhouse on the court and off the court.
Don't just walk away. Let us celebrate you.
Serena Williams on her terms, Monday.
Real news that shapes our world.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson, Monday through Friday on CNN.
Buckingham Palace says the Queen's doctors are concerned for Her Majesty's health and have recommended she remain under medical supervision. At this moment, her family is rushing to be with her in Balmoral in Scotland. Joining me is CNN's chief medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay, what do we know about the Queen's recent health incidents?
Yeah, well, she's been pretty healthy, Anderson. And if you go back even, to 2013, first of all, she was 87 years old at that point. She was hospitalized for gastroenteritis. At that point, we know she had a hospitalization in October of last year. Didn't really get a lot of details, but she recovered from whatever it was. It seemingly had COVID earlier this year in February, and had some episodes where she had to miss certain events, but generally it sounds like pretty healthy, especially given her age, 96 years old. Reading that statement carefully, I think it's safe to say, and the most honest answer is we don't really know what's driving that. That's the honest answer here. So best not to speculate. It is worth pointing out, as you know, Anderson, she's not in the hospital. In the past, when she's gone to the hospital, they said that she's not in the hospital, which could either mean she's not ill enough to warrant it, or they don't think going to the hospital would be of any benefit.
The idea of, you're saying just the idea that they might feel that her just staying at home makes more sense given whatever her condition may be.
Right. Are you going to be aggressive in terms of treating things? Is there some reason, why would you go to a hospital? Probably very good care available there. But hospitals, machines in terms of breathing and blood pressure and things like that. Again, either maybe she doesn't need it, maybe she's not that ill, or they don't think it will be any benefit given the status that she's in now. We don't know. That is the most honest answer, I think, here.
Sanjay, appreciate it. We'll check in with you as we learn more information. We're going to continue coverage of what is happening in Balmoral, as well as in Buckingham Palace and Windsor, with all our correspondents and all the latest on the health of the Queen in a moment. There are several other big stories that we are following right now. I want to give you a quick update on. Former Trump White House strategist Steve Bannon surrendered this morning to authorities in New York. He's expected to plead not guilty on state charges related to his alleged border wall fundraising scheme. Bannon and 3 others were accused of defrauding donors to the organization We Build the Wall. Now to a shooting rampage in Memphis that left 4 people dead and effectively locked down the city for nearly 24 hours. Police say the violence began shortly after midnight yesterday, encompassed multiple crime scenes. Suspected gunmen streamed at least one of the shootings on Facebook. In addition to the 4 deaths, 3 others were injured. Police have identified the gunman. He was taken into custody following a high-speed chase. More information now, more news to tell you about. Legendary CNN anchor Bernard Shaw has died. Shaw was a true CNN original, joining the network even before it launched in 1980. He covered every major world event from 1980 until his retirement in 2001. Many more in a distinguished career before he came to CNN. Shaw became a household name during his live coverage, of course, of the first Gulf War in 1991 as he reported live from Baghdad. Bernard Shaw leaves behind his wife Linda and 2 children and a generation of journalists, including myself, that he inspired. He was 82 years old. He will be missed by all who knew him and had the pleasure to work with him. Stay with us. Our breaking news coverage after this break continues.
Christiana Manpour.
In Amsterdam.
Jerusalem.
Sarajevo.
Afghanistan.
I'm Christiana Manpour in Iran.
Christiana Manpour, CNN, with elements of the Galilee division in Israel.
As dusk fell, people were still marching.
How much do you weigh, detective? How could the detective see a ring at his feet when he can't see past his own belly?
Objection!
Juliana Margulies plays by her own rules and takes on any case.
Your client's a murderer. I told you it was the boogeyman.
To protect the innocent.
You don't see what I see.
From the producers of Rescue Me comes the jaw-dropping drama.
I want to see justice served.
Canterbury's Law is exclusive to 7+. Stream big.
Yeah, that's their third lap. See, when it comes to working out what's for dinner, supermarkets, well, just aren't that super. Instead, get the right ingredients for every meal delivered to your door with HelloFresh.
Maria stands patiently with the Totsu, few nerves jangling unsure of the barriers and
Take racing to the Ned's level. Back a horse in races 1 to 6 at Flemington on Maccabi Diva Stakes Day, and if it runs second or third, get up to $50 back in bonus cash. Take it to the Ned's level.
Tell me the best thing that's happened while I was gone.
I made sure Dad ate healthy like you said. He even tried the broccoli. Eat it. Then I helped him make his work much better. And we found the perfect outfit to wear to my party. But I really needed to wind down before bed, so I turned my hand into a starfish.
My best thing is you being back.
I know you heard about it. You know I'm bad it. And don't you ever doubt it. I'm incomparable. That's why they staring though. Turn up the stereo. Check it out, check it out, check it out.
What's going on? Purchase paralysis.
Purchase paralysis? With eBay's money-back guarantee, you get what you ordered or your money back.
I can move!
Browse, buy, carefree with eBay's money back guarantee.
Oh, hi, sweetie.
Hi, Mum.
New Mars honeycomb flavour with salted caramel.
Oh, it's very good.
My mum always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Forrest Gump, Friday on 7 May.
That's why we're here. We live here, we work here, we're from here, and we'll go wherever the story takes us.
I'm Becky Anderson in Tehran.
We are in Jerusalem. Real news that shapes our world. Exploring not just what's going on, but why.
I just want to press you on one further point.
Getting perspective on this region from this region. Places that many of us know, but few of us get to see. Observing countries on the move, still rooted in tradition. It all starts here, and that's why we're here, bringing you the world from our Middle Eastern hub.
Connect the world with Becky Anderson, Monday through Friday on CNN.
I'm Bill Weir in Greenland, and this is CNN.
This is CNN Breaking News.
I want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Anderson Cooper with our breaking news coverage of the health of Queen Elizabeth II. There is intense concern this hour after royal doctors put the 96-year-old monarch under medical supervision. The royal family is scrambling to be by Her Majesty's side at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Prince Charles, her son and heir, and Princess Anne are already there. Prince Andrew, Prince Edward, Prince William, and Prince Harry are in various stages of travel to Balmoral. The Queen, of course, is a global pillar, the longest-serving incumbent head of state, the longest-reigning British monarch, spanning 15 different prime ministers, 14 U.S. presidents, and 7 popes. I want to bring in CNN royal correspondent Max Foster, Buckingham Palace, along with CNN chief international anchor Christian Amanpour and Bianca Nobila. Max Foster, let me just start with you, just in terms of the latest you are hearing from the palace, from anywhere.
Well, we heard from the palace this morning that we've only had one formal statement, really, saying that the royal doctors are concerned about the Queen's health, which is very stark language for the palace. It's also very significant that they're telling us at all, because they keep her medical condition very private and only tell us when there are significant changes, so we can assume this is a very significant change. Shortly after that, we were told that Prince Charles was heading straight to Balmoral, as was Prince William, and the other members of the royal family as well. The senior royals have all headed there, including, crucially, Prince Harry. I say crucially because he was already here in the UK, but he's gone out of his way to avoid other members of the royal family as a group, and he's headed there, put his differences behind him. We were reporting earlier that the Duchess Sussex was also heading there. I've just had clarification from their team that she's not heading there at the moment, so it's just Prince Harry. Once they've gathered there at the castle, they will be briefed about the Queen's condition as a family. Once that's happened, then the Prime Minister will be informed. Then we'll have a series of other notifications, the Prime Ministers of the realms, crucially, countries like Australia and Canada, which have the Queen as head of state. And then we'll expect some sort of formal statement. I mean, we don't know what that formal statement is, but of course people are fearing the worst. There's a horrible atmosphere in the UK. The palace wouldn't want that to continue without calming it down, and frankly, they are not waving us off the level of concern we're expressing in our coverage.
Christian Amanpour, you're all at Buckingham Palace. It's impossible to look at the crowds outside, the people gathered outside in the rain at Buckingham Palace right now. Some of whom are probably just tourists who came by and are just learning the news. Some who have maybe come there just to be there. It's impossible to see that scene, not think back, of course, to so many other times when we have seen crowds gathering outside Buckingham Palace. This is such any concern about the Queen's health. This is a momentous moment for Great Britain.
Well, Anderson, it really is. And, you know, without preparing us and preparing the people, the palace actually have prepared the people by just putting out that statement early this morning and allowing this sort of build, this momentum of concern, build all day up to the point that people are now gathering, as you see there, outside the palace. She has been on the throne for 70 years. She has been the central thread of the life of the people in this country for that many years, has spanned so many generations, has spanned so many world events. She came into power, into office, into her reign as a young accidental queen, if you like, who shouldn't necessarily have been the queen had it not been for her uncle, King Edward VIII, who abdicated for the love of an American woman, a divorcee, and he wasn't allowed to remain king. He had to either drop her or choose his...
We just lost audio with our folks in Buckingham Palace. Richard Quest is joining us now. He is in Singapore. Richard, you have followed, obviously, this family for your entire life as somebody who grew up in England. It is extraordinary to think about the family right now, Prince Charles, Prince Andrew, Prince Harry, Prince William, Prince Edward, going up to Balmoral, reuniting as a family to be by the side of their mother and grandmother.
A family, Anderson, that has so many rivens between them, so many arguments, disagreements, fundamental dislikes in some cases, and others just resentments. But they have all come together today for what would appear to be the most serious and grave news. As Max says, the palace is preparing the country for the worst. The palace is putting, they've always said that they want to ensure that when the time comes, it is all done with the utmost decorum, dignity. They don't want a repeat of anything like what we saw with Diana. So huge measures will be taken, Anderson. For instance, the announcement that will be made at Buckingham Palace if and when they put the notice on the door, the statements that will be made from others. It's all about ensuring that everything is done right, everything is done properly. And that is the way the Queen has planned it. The Queen has been involved in every aspect of this. But we just don't know if that is the way this is turning. It looks like it. We don't know, Anderson.
It's extraordinary, Richard, to see the two images that we're showing on the screen right now. On the left side of the screen, the gates of Buckingham Palace closed, crowds gathered. On the right side of the screen, a gate to Balmoral Castle, which is a huge complex, hugely important to Queen Elizabeth personally, as well as to the British royal family. Prince Albert bought it for his wife, then Queen Victoria, I think in 1852. This is a place that is steeped in royal family history and emotional history for this family. This is where Prince Harry and Prince William were when they learned of the deaths of their mother, Princess Diana.
Yes, and it's one of the few residences, if you will, that the Queen actually owns. This is hers. Indeed, the whole Scottish estate belongs to the royal family. Everything from the Queen Mother's Castle of May, Birkenall Cottage, all of them up on the Balmoral estate. And one of the reasons the Queen was there, of course, every year she goes for several weeks, 6-7 weeks, for her summer holidays. And that has been part of her routine. And understanding routine is really what understanding the Queen is really all about. Because every year she has gone to Balmoral. Every year she has had a Holyrood House cocktail garden party. Every year she has attended the Braemar Highland Games. This year she wasn't able to go to the games. We have seen, Anderson, and this is, I think, emblematic of the way this has gone. We've seen a series of events that the Queen would normally have done that she has not been able to do. The most recent, and perhaps the most significant, the appointment of Liz Truss as the Queen's 15th Prime Minister. Now, that happened the other day. The Queen, we saw a picture, there was no video of the two meeting. So the Queen met, said goodbye to Boris Johnson, accepted his resignation, appoints Liz Truss, and then we have the events of the last 24 hours. Anderson, this juxtaposition between Balmoral, if you like, the office, the official, the centre, and that is where the announcement, if it's made, will be made.
Richard, we'll come back to you in Singapore. I want to go back to Max Foster and Christiane Amanpour, Bianca Nobila outside Buckingham Palace. Max Foster, we're seeing some vehicles entering the grounds of Balmoral. Obviously, there's a huge staff, a huge support staff there, as well as doctors who, as we say, are very concerned right now for the health of the Queen.
Yeah, and the heavens have just opened here as well. I mean, there's a huge amount of media down here. There's a huge amount of people going in and out of Balmoral Castle. If this is a serious situation, when we're talking anything like a regency or beyond, dare I say, it does involve a massive amount of people. She is the head of state, she is the head of the church, she's the head of the defence, head of judiciary, and she is head of state in 15 countries around the world. So anything that affects her essentially affects all those constitutions, and they all have to be debated and it all has to be worked through. So these are plans that are well rehearsed and in place, and we're involved with them as well, where we find out what might happen if the worst case scenario plays out. But they all have to be put into place. But none of that can happen until the family has been informed of the situation, and they are all gathering there. So either they've been informed already and they've headed there, or they're going to be informed when they get there. We're just not sure, because everything is held very private. The Prime Minister might find out what's going on at the most, but once the family's been informed and Prince Charles gives his go-ahead, then the rest of the palace staff will be told, and it gets disseminated from there. So we're really in this holding pattern, and it really depends on how the family want to play it.
And Christiane, it really was telling, as Richard Quest was pointing out, that on Tuesday, the Queen, she was able to meet with the incoming British Prime Minister and bid goodbye to the outgoing Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. But it was done at Balmoral, not where it's traditionally done at Buckingham Palace. Normally the Queen would have come to Buckingham Palace to meet with an incoming Prime Minister.
Yeah, Anderson, but I think we should just give her a bit of a break. She's 96 years old. Why would she get on a plane, even if she was healthy, to come to London when actually those younger people could go up and see her? I mean, seriously, 96 years old. She has the right for them to come to see her in Balmoral. And I would just say that, as we were saying, that she has been the thread of everyone's life in this country and in the Commonwealth, and really in the fans of the British monarchy all over the world for the last last 70 years. We're right now in a state of some political upheaval. We've just had a new prime minister, her 15th. And I would also just say that, you know, she's also a mother, she's a grandmother, she's a great-grandmother, she's a family woman, and now it's time for them to be having their moments. And I have to say, this reign, the heavens are opening, as Max said, and it's almost, for me, it's always indicative of a moment when we're in this period where everybody's worried, everybody sort of feels sad, even though we haven't heard anything massively formal yet. And the rains are contributing to that, even as people stand outside Buckingham Palace to see, to wait, to really, you know, conduct their own small vigil for the moment there.
Yeah, Bianca Nobilo, it's important to point out, and as Max and Christian were talking about, I mean, she's the head of state in 15 countries around the world in the British Commonwealth. There are people all over the world in the Commonwealth countries who are watching this with particular eye, given the effect it will have on their countries as well.
Without question, the Queen has been attributed as somebody who has enabled the monarchy to flourish and continue around the globe and throughout the Commonwealth. Obviously, that's been buffeted slightly with certain countries coming out as republics, but they often say that people might not be monarchists, but they are Elizabethans because they have so much profound respect and admiration for Elizabeth II as head of state, as head of their Commonwealth countries, and she is adored from the United Kingdom to my home country in New Zealand, all around the world, Anderson. And this is a moment of extreme concern and consternation until people find out more details about what she might be facing, the state that she might be in. Obviously, as Max is saying, we will wait until the family is informed before we learn any more details than that. But she is the historical through line, a towering figure of history that has been the common thread, the constant in most people's lives around the world.
Max, I understand, and correct me if this is not correct, that the traditional ceremony, the changing the guard, which normally would have taken place tomorrow, that has been canceled?
There's a sign saying that, yes. That could be for any reason. We haven't been told. I've asked the palace about that. They've gone quiet, basically. I was telling Christian that this is what I did worry would happen. You know, they would normally guide us away from reporting certain things. They've gone completely quiet. So it's a pretty gloomy atmosphere here, and Christian says the weather really does reflect it. You know, I don't think anyone really knows how they'll feel about the Queen not being in public life until it happens. Christian and I remember Diana, you know, that moment when everyone was shocked by the way they felt when she had passed. But the Queen is such a consistent, a constant, as Bianca says, and she's nurtured that. She's there in times of crisis, in times of celebration. She's there in our living rooms during her Christmas message every year. She's there at these regular moments. We expect to see her. When she's not there, I think it's going to be a struggle, on top of the fact that she's not performing in public life anymore. And I think that inevitably, whatever's happened here, we're not going to be seeing as much of her.
And the latest, Max, the latest you had heard on the whereabouts of the other members of the immediate family, Prince Charles and his wife Camilla, is it correct that they are already at Balmoral, as well as the Queen's daughter, Princess Anne?
Yeah, so the three of them are there, and Edward and Andrew and Sophie, I think, are on their way there in the car. They have landed at the airport in Aberdeen, but it takes about an hour to get there. Harry is travelling separately. I've just been told that Meghan is not going to be going there, even though initially that was what we were told by their office. And Harry is travelling separately. I think Harry's going to arrive last, so he needs to be in the palace. Of course, these are the only members of the family and friends that we've been told about. The significant senior members, really, of the royal family. They have to tell us about them, but there'll be many others heading into the palace, I'm sure, as well. You can see there the members of the public gathering. I mean, this is something that the Queen doesn't like to worry people, and people are worried, and this is one of the most worrying aspects of this. This story is being allowed to carry on, and we are speculating about what might happen, and normally they just do not allow that to get to that extent, and people are worried.
And Max, the state broadcaster, the BBC, has been in rolling coverage as well, right?
And the chief anchor is wearing a black tie. I don't know. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, it's significant because there are plans in place for these kinds of situations, and it's significant. And I think when the state broadcaster is in rolling coverage, it means that it's taking this moment extremely seriously. I mean, look, we just obviously are staying away from the D word, but you know, she's 96 years old. She's been retreating from public life. Officially, she said it a few months ago, right? That she was not going to be delivering or conducting many of her public duties. She delegated a lot to her son and heir, Prince Charles. And it was even, you know, we were lucky to see her, I think, on the 70th Jubilee, the Platinum Jubilee. She only came out a couple of times. She was probably meant to take part more and more of the ceremonies around her 70th anniversary.
But the turning point, I think, was, you know, when she couldn't open the new parliamentary session.
Yeah.
And there are core, you know, duties that any monarch needs to carry out: opening Parliament, appointing a Prime Minister, signing laws. She's been signing laws. She couldn't open Parliament, and now she really suffered as a result of appointing a Prime Minister.
But that's an important point.
You know, you were playing that speech earlier on. Yeah.
That's an important point you were making, that Prince Charles, you're saying, and has been taking over more duties over the last several years or the last several months as the Queen has been stepping back.
Well, yeah, and that's been happening over time, and they've signalled that. So she stopped international travel, for example, and Charles does all of that. But what, you know, the turning point really was certain core constitutional responsibilities that only she can do. So opening a new session of Parliament literally can't open without the Queen. She is part of Parliament along with the Lords and the Commons. So when she couldn't go and open Parliament, she had to sign a specific law to allow Prince Charles to do it instead of her. And that is her not being able to perform that function. And that is very worrying because we're a parliamentary democracy, a constitutional monarchy. And if she can't open Parliament, the democracy can't continue. So that was really worrying and serious. And I was referencing the speech you were playing earlier on at her 21st birthday. And this is her defining speech, and even she refers back to it, where she makes a lifelong commitment to her subjects, which is why Christiana and I always tell you that she's never going to abdicate. She won't abdicate. This is a lifelong commitment, and she reiterated it, didn't she, at the Jubilee this year?
Christian, it is extraordinary. 70 years has now been marked with Queen Elizabeth on the throne. Obviously, as you talked about, the longest-serving monarch, but just an extraordinary presence in the lives of everyone in Great Britain, everyone around the world links her. I mean, she is England. England is her.
Yeah, England, the United Kingdom is her. And actually you make a very important point, right, Bianca and Max, because there are many here who are concerned that not just with the passing of this monarch when it happens, but because of Brexit, because of all sorts of other issues around the kingdom, there may be a split up of this kingdom. You know that Scotland wants to have another referendum. You know, there's Ireland, Northern Ireland. You know, there's all of this stuff has been bubbling and percolating. But interestingly, today we heard from not just former prime ministers here, Sir Tony Blair, the Labour Prime Minister, David Cameron, the Conservative, both putting out statements, as well as the current Prime Minister Liz Truss, but also the First Minister of Scotland. She put out a statement today as well, saying very, very concerned about the health and the welfare of the Queen. So she transcends all that kind of earthly political partisanship. She really does transcend that because, frankly, constitutionally, she's not allowed to be political, nor is Prince Charles. But by doing that, she sort of cocoons this country in a sort of bubble that pretty much to this day has prevented it from spinning into over partisan divide, right, Bianca? I mean, you cover politics in Westminster. It is bad, but it's not as bad as other places. And some point to the Queen as the unifying glue.
Without question, as you outlined, Christiane, Britain has been buffeted and challenged by trying to redefine its place in the global order. Brexit was a huge part of that, but also with the political turbulence that we've seen over the last years and with these frictions emerging within the union of the United Kingdom. And everyone's always looking to the Queen for a hint of what she might think politically, but she is inscrutable because that is a core part of her constitutional role. And it is unimaginable almost to think without Queen Elizabeth II as the sovereign of the United Kingdom, what would truly define it on the world stage? It is the key association of anyone.
I mean, it's brand Britain, isn't it?
Yeah,
brand United Kingdom is the monarchy and the Queen.
There's been a few defining moments where she's stepped up that other people haven't been able to do, and one of them, where she's proved her worth. President Trump's visit to the UK, there's huge political disruptions and ramifications around that, and there was all the chaos in the Boris Johnson government, and he came here, and I was told by someone that the only woman he looks up to, only person he looks up to in the world was the Queen, and he came here and he really enjoyed his visit, as did Barack Obama, Nelson Mandela. This is something that prime ministers can't do. And this was an extraordinary moment, seeing two of them go into the back garden and do that, on a guard. And he was, there was an event at Windsor Castle where he got a bit lost. I think, to be fair to Donald Trump, he was waiting for the Queen's lead. How often do you see him taking the lead from anyone? And she welcomed him. He adored the visit, and that was very important for the United Kingdom.
She assuaged his desire and his love of pomp.
The life that she has had at Balmoral with her family is really remarkable. I was reading some details, Max. Princess Eugenie, the Queen's granddaughter, talks about Balmoral as a lovely base for Granny and Grandpa, a place to have room to breathe and run. Correct me if I'm wrong, that there were family barbecues where the late Duke of Edinburgh, where Prince Philip would actually do the barbecuing, and is it true that Queen Elizabeth would actually do the dishes?
Yeah, and she drove the Land Rover until quite recently. It's a rugged life up there. I mean, it's not what you would imagine, and let's say Meghan didn't take to it too well. I don't think Diana particularly liked it up there either. It's hunting, shooting, fishing, going out for hours, up on the moors, driving Land Rovers. The Queen loved it and Prince Philip loved it, and they would have barbecues, and once a year the Prime Minister goes and stays there. It's the highlight of the Prime Minister's year. It's their, it's their escape, isn't it?
It's their Shangri-La, basically a cool, chilly, drafty Shangri-La, but nonetheless a Shangri-La. And Max, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was Balmoral that was the scene for the very first public documentary on the family, right? Didn't Prince Philip organize that as a way to humanize the royal family? And it was the first that the country and the world had seen of the royals at play, so to speak.
And it was played twice, and it's vanished. Because as brilliant as the Queen has been with media, I think that's her acceptance that you can allow the media in too far and show too much and take too much of the mystery and magic away.
Well, I think that's such an important point, Max, that you make, and we're seeing now more. So we're seeing vehicles arriving. Actually, this occurred just a short time ago. Two SUVs and a third going at a relatively high speed into Balmoral, and then a fourth that occurred about 5 minutes ago. We're not sure who was in that, but as you say, family members are rushing to get up there from different parts of Great Britain. But it's such an important point that you make, that the Queen is not somebody who is taking selfies. She's not somebody who has been Instagramming every thought she ever had. And yet, it is a whole new generation of people who, whenever she is no longer on the throne, Prince Charles obviously is the heir, then Prince William, but there's a different level of expectation for that citizens in Great Britain have, people around the world have, of people in public life, and the Queen was always, one step back from that. After Princess Diana died, I remember being there covering her, that funeral, and there was this outrage for the Queen to do more but she did things at the pace that she thought appropriate.
I mean, it was a misstep. It was a misstep. She did not have her finger on the pulse of the people there. And actually, it was Tony Blair, I think, wasn't it, who sort of persuaded her and went up to Balmoral and talked to her. He was Prime Minister then, about reacting to the people's grief. Nobody had seen anything like it in this country. The paroxysm of grief that was unleashed after the death of Princess Diana surprised everybody, clearly the Queen as well. And her first reactions were, everybody says correctly, to protect the boys, Diana's boys who were up there in Balmoral, but she omitted to understand what the people were feeling. And they not only felt grief, but they felt blame. They pointed the finger at the royal family for making Diana's life essentially hell. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what was happening. And she had to come back and she had to look at all the flowers and pay respects, you know, out here, and that sort of changed the tone, right?
Max, Max, I understand you have new reporting about who was in those SUVs that we just saw going in a few minutes ago.
Well, we're hearing from PA, who I know have got a reporter up there, and PA took the picture as well of Truss meeting the Queen the other day. So these are the, you know, official Land Rovers. And we're told that Prince William's in one of them, and the Duke of York and the Earl and Countess of Wessex, that's Prince Edward and Sophie. So the senior royals are there. I think we're just waiting on Prince Harry. He's travelling separately. I'm not quite sure how he's going to get there, but I think the only option is Aberdeen Airport, isn't it?
Yeah, or driving.
He's not going to be driving.
Oh, no.
If he is driving, it'll be a while longer until we get an update. But we're waiting for this. You know, we need them all to be together before we're going to get an update from the palace. I am expecting one. We've been told to be on guard for one, as it were, but the timings here are very, you know, they're defined by the family.
So they want to make sure, before there's any kind of an announcement, they want to make sure that all of her children and Prince William and Harry are present.
Well, I think that, you know, either they've been informed and they've gone up to Balmoral, or they've gone up to Balmoral to be informed. But the family need to be comfortable for any announcements to be made, and it all stays pretty much within the family until that point. So without them all being there, I think it would be a bit frowned upon, I think. Do you not think if an announcement was made when Harry was travelling? I think that would be uncomfortable.
I mean, look, I just don't know, but I do know also that they have to, clearly Prince Charles, who is in any event standing in for her for many, many things, is the senior member of the royal family right now after his mother, will have to be presumably be the person who makes the statement, has written something about whatever it might be.
I think at a time like this too, where it pertains to the monarch, what is most important is a sense of calm and process and deliberate action. Nothing chaotic. It needs to follow a certain protocol and all be done in the right way.
I think if we heard from Prince Charles, that would be the most significant announcement.
Any announcement, Max, that is made, is it your understanding it would be made by Prince Charles, or would it be just a statement?
I mean, how far do we go in terms of speculating about what's happened? I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, in terms of a regency...
Well, I don't want to speculate about what happened. I'm just asking you about the process of how an announcement is made.
Well, the process would be different depending on whether it was a regency or, as Christian described it, the D word. So a very clear process if it's the D word, and the focus would very quickly come onto the gates you're looking at there, where announcements would be made and emails will be sent, and yes, there will be a public address pre-recorded by the Prince of Wales, who would then be king. If it's regency, it's not clear. I think the Prime Minister would be very involved in that and perhaps would make any announcements. It would basically mean that the Queen is incapacitated, and there's a committee of people, including the leader of the House of Commons and also the senior judges in this country, where they'd sit around and decide whether or not a regency was required, and then a regency would be declared, and the Prince of Wales would adopt all of the Queen's responsibilities, all of them apart from one, which would be changing the line of succession. He wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, at this point, what we know, Princes William, Andrew, and Edward have reportedly arrived now at Balmoral Castle. We saw a number of their SUVs pulling in quite quickly through those gates that were pre-opened for their arrival. That occurred probably about 5 to 10 minutes ago. We've replayed it now several times. More of our special coverage ahead as we monitor the Queen's health and any updates from Buckingham Palace. Stay with us.
Where is Glory? Excuse me, ma'am.
Hello? Where Glo now?
Are they here?
Glo don't go village. Tell all our customer.
Everybody pay attention. See, now Glo dedicated 10x. Now he might take tension my customers. Now they dash me 10 times the credits when I load. Or even summer me double data join.
Yeah. Wait, so with 1.5 when they give all of us, so you they enjoy up to
15,000 naira credit and data. And I say I never finish you. See, when I say if we enjoy, if we not join Glo dedicated 10x, when I go get 1,000 naira welcome credits, you just carry your phone, dial *777#. Finish.
Glo, you don't win.
Una see they here.
Hello, please, I'm looking for Glo.
Please save now Glo be they fine. Now Glo be they go.
Okay, so
enjoy 10 times the value of your recharge on Glo Berekete 10X. You also get 1,000 naira for calls and data and double data bonus on your subscription.
What do you see when you look at the surface? Just that, the surface. But dive deeper and new possibilities emerge. Essential intelligence from S&P Global takes you here, providing the data, risk assessment, and workflow solutions you need to plumb the wonders beneath. A better, more prosperous future awaits. It's yours for the seeking. S&P Global. Seek and prosper.
At CNN, we see the devastation caused by natural disasters, famine, and war. We also see how the generosity of others can change lives. You and CNN's Impact Your World can help. Reputable charities that are checked out by CNN. See the difference it makes when you give time, share stories, or donate. By just clicking the button, be a part of the solution. Impact Your World.
Designing a sustainable future, from reducing our carbon footprint to improving renewable resources.
I hope that we're leading the future into this new world by doing this one truck at a time.
Meet some of the pioneers.
Two crowd favourites will collide.
Sensational.
To make a family dinner that is out of this world. The secret to the super delicious Nacho Dog. With new Better Homes, Friday on 7 and 7+.
At Hungry Jack's, fall in love with the new Memphis Jack's Fried Chicken. Bacon, onion rings, and barbecue sauce. Memphis Jack's Fried Chicken. The burgers are better at Hungry Jack's.
What I enjoy about retirement living is it's a much easier life than what my husband and I had before. We feel secure. We just enjoy ourselves.
What will you look forward to? Take the first step to great retirement living with Aveo.
We've mastered the way we roast and blend our bold Robusta and smooth Arabica coffee beans, so you can enjoy the perfect cup. Nescafe Blend 43, the perfect blend of bold and smooth.
You've both had a single chew. Let's see which lasts the longest for flea and paralysis tick protection. Jump to it, boys. Uh-oh, the monthly chew has lost its bite, while that single Bravecto chew is still protecting. Move over, Rover. With a single chew that protects 3 times longer, Bravecto is the clear winner.
When I heard you could save 30% on your first year's premium when you buy a combined home and contents policy online with Budget Direct, that's when I knew they'd solved it. Double 15 for the win. It's time you switch to Budget Direct.
With Ensure Health Shakes, just 2 serves a day can help you stay strong. Because Ensure contains protein and vitamin D to help maintain muscle strength. Be strong, be sure with Ensure.
Come with me to Middle-earth.
This kingdom belongs to us.
All of us?
All of us.
Our world was about to descend into shadow.
New Kinder Surprise Natoons. Scan your kids' toys to bring them to life in a Play-Doh and explore the world of animals. So many new things to discover with Natoons and Kinder Surprise. Find the new range in stores now.
If the worst news comes, I'm wondering whether they want to stay here for the coming days. But the mood here, yeah, very somber, very sad. Everyone wanting more information, I think, at this stage.
Anna Stewart, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I want to bring in Kate Williams, CNN royal commentator, along with journalist and royal biographer Sally Biddle-Smith and former British television presenter Trisha Goddard. Sally, let me start with you. The Queen has reigned for 70 years. She's the only monarch that most Britons have ever known. I think more than 80% of the population there have never known another monarch, never been alive during another reign. Talk about the significance of this moment, whatever the condition of the Queen, whatever announcement is made, just the significance of her stepping back to the degree she has from public life.
Well, I think people have been very tolerant of the fact that she has needed to slow down. I think she has very sensibly deputized Prince Charles, Prince William, Prince Edward to stand in for her. And, you know, but I think this is a moment that everybody has been dreading, and the gravity of it, I think, is underscored by the fact that so many members of her family have been summoned to Balmoral. It's very serious. We don't know specifically what her ailment is. But it's, you know, she is, as many others have pointed out, the glue that holds the United Kingdom together. She's a huge force in the Commonwealth of 54 nations around the world. And so, you know, I think a lot of people have been dreading the moment when she would no longer be on the scene. And so there's a sense of terrible anguish and anxiety right now, everywhere.
Yeah. Kate Williams, your thoughts on this afternoon?
Yes, it's a very serious moment. We've had various updates on the Queen's health before, but really we've been told that she's fine, nothing to worry about. And she looked in such great health at her Platinum Jubilee. I know she couldn't attend everything, but she was in great form. And just a month before that, she was opening our brand new tube line here in London, the Elizabeth line, bright purple. She really looked so happy and in such great health. So we were all really feeling really hopeful and really excited and thinking perhaps of a 100th birthday. But today is really serious, really sombre news. It's very serious. And you think of the Queen's incredible span. She was born in 1926 when many women didn't have the vote, the age of the flapper, saw World War II, born just after World War I, right into the 21st century, a world of globalisation, technology. Everything has changed in her reign, and she has, as Sally was saying, remained this constant. And I think many people in the United Kingdom and across the world can't imagine a world without her.
Yeah. I want to come back to all of you in a moment. I just want to quickly go to CNN royal correspondent Max Foster at Buckingham Palace. Max, we just got an extraordinary photo of royal family members as they were rushing to be with the Queen. We're going to want to show that image. We saw the video of this, but we didn't actually see who was in the vehicle. That's Prince Edward there, Prince Andrew as well. Talk a little bit about what these images show.
Well, you know, they normally travel separately. They're all in one car. Their faces are stark. Prince Andrew in the front, very close to the Queen. Prince Edward also increasingly close to the Queen in recent years, because he's been taking on more and more responsibilities. And, you know, we just have to look at those faces and try to read what we can into them. But they're all in the same car, and they didn't have to be. I just feel, it really feels to me like they suddenly rushed to get there as quickly as possible. This was the most efficient way. We know that Prince William's arrived as well. I think we're only waiting on Prince Harry. We're relying on local photographers here because, you know, this has only just happened and they've been based up there. So waiting to see the images come through. I think once Prince Harry's in there, whilst he's not a working royal, he's still a senior member of the royal family, still very high up in the line of succession. I think they want to have him there before any announcements were made. It would seem a bit dismissive, I think, if the announcements were made before they were all in situ behind those gates at Balmoral Castle, and then you need a bit of time for them to regroup as well, even if they have already been informed of the latest situation. I think, you know, family time and the optics of making sure they have family time, a different angle there. So I think you've got a police driver, and there's Sophie, the Countess of Wessex, alongside her husband there in the back seat. Oh, we're told it is William. Couldn't really see the. Well, it does look a bit like William. It could be William.
It does look a bit like
I mean, that would be an extraordinary situation where you've got
I'm told it is
very
William.
Senior royals in one car, which they don't so they wouldn't normally allow them to be together like that, because it's a bit a big risk. So I just think that speaks to the urgency of today. And look at Sophie's face. I mean, that really does paint the picture. And she's very close to the Queen. They ride, or they until very recently rode together every weekend, lived in Windsor together. And whenever I've asked about interviews about the Queen, they've always suggested Sophie because she knows her so well.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
Can I just point out that just the expressions on the faces are very, very somber, obviously. And because we're journalists, we have to point out that Prince Andrew, who has been known as the Queen's favourite son, is also no longer a working royal because of the scandal that he was involved in regarding the Epstein affair, the allegations of sexual mishandling, especially of a minor. And, just to say that she's been surrounded by her sense of never putting a foot wrong, her sense of absolute duty, her sense of being practically the perfect monarch for the times, if you want to describe it as that. But she's been surrounded also by some of the nearest and dearest to her, her closest, her children, who have, and in this case, fallen short, and certainly in Prince Andrew's case.
I'm noticing that Edward's wearing a blue shirt. I don't think you can read too much into that. They may have just rushed to be up there as opposed to prepared what to wear.
But Max, I mean, to Christian's point, how public has Prince Andrew been since all the allegations against him, since the lawsuits, and since he has stepped back from public life? How rare is it that he is in the mix with the royal family?
Very rare. He was fired by the Queen and he's been kept out of public vision very clearly. He's been, at one point I would probably describe him almost a hostage within Windsor grounds, because there were so many photographers parked at the gates trying to get a picture of him, and whenever it happened, it was on the front of the newspapers. So he's had a very difficult period, very low-key. He did try to make a re-entry into public life at Prince Philip's funeral. I think everyone obviously accepted that he should be there at the memorial service, rather. But he got a huge amount of bad headlines when he walked the Queen to her seat, something which is really a job for the Dean of the chapel there. And it was seen as him trying to steal the limelight. He travelled to the church as well with the Queen. So that went down very badly, and we really haven't seen him since. He is out of public life and he's out of a job. And with Prince Charles in this more senior position and Prince William, they're certainly, I know, not so much keen on having him within a public role. So they've kept him out of the public limelight as well, effectively, by making sure he's not got a public role, and they can rebuild, really, the royal brand.
I want to... As we're looking at that photograph is a family moment. The urgency, the deviation from protocol, seeing Prince Andrew front and centre there with Prince William, that this is a moment of a family together, pulling together, urgently trying to make their way to Balmoral Castle, rather than in any form of royal assortment or the kind of process that we would usually expect.
I want to also bring in Trisha Goddard on talking about this photo. Trisha, it's such an unusual photo. I mean, as others have said, to have them, the three, those three in the vehicle, all four members of the royal family in the vehicle like that, with Prince William driving. It's, I don't know if that's intentional, that they wanted people to see them all together, or if it was just getting off a plane and everybody gets into a car and they take off. I mean, Prince William does have security, so I assume he chose to drive, or somebody chose to have him drive.
I suspect this is just about a family being together. This is about family at the moment. And I agree with Max, until everybody's under the same roof. I think we should be looking at them as a family. I think they will become the royal family and have anything that needs to be said once they are all together. I obviously this is very serious, and I think, as Sally said herself, it's something that we've expected, as one does with anybody who's elderly, but still the nation is shocked. And Britain's been under siege, if you like. The cost of living, the Prime Minister, the changing, it's a really sort of difficult time, I think, for Britain. And this is really quite a shock in many ways. So I just think it's family first. And I think the fact that Harry is in the UK and can be there, I think, because you can imagine if he'd already gone back to the States, what would happen. But obviously it is very serious. It is very poor. It's a very somber moment. And as I said before, I think Brits will be shocked but not surprised, if that makes sense.
I want to bring in also Zane Asher, Julia Chatterley, who are with me here in New York. As you are watching this, what stands out to you, Zane?
I mean, Anderson, honestly, this is not just a British moment, okay? This is not just a British event. When you think about the influence and the relevance of this family on the global stage, this is the woman who has been behind it all. A lot of people have been talking about the fact that she has been the glue that has not only held her family together, by the way, through times of crisis, the nation together, and also the Commonwealth together. She has been the steady ship. I mean, you and I both grew up in the UK. We grew up looking up to Queen Elizabeth II as almost this iconic sort of mother of the nation figure. And when you think about the steady ship that she is, it's not just in terms of what she has presided over in terms of world events, for example, the Second World War and how traumatic that was for the UK as a nation, but also traumatic events within her own family, the various crises and the various sort of less than stellar moments that the royal family has endured in recent years, including, as Christiane was just talking about, the scandals involving Prince Andrew, which was hugely embarrassing for the royal family. Of course, the very famous fracture and the rupture of the fairy tale with Princess Diana and Prince Charles, the various divorces, and also Prince Harry essentially stepping back from royal duties. She has been this steady hand through all of that. And honestly, you know, Julie, I can't imagine anyone else being at the helm of this family during those various crises.
I think we're all just holding our breaths, to be honest. I think everyone in the UK now, it is bigger, I agree. It's about the Commonwealth, it's about the world. It's just waiting to see, and I think we're hoping for the best and we're praying for the worst on a very human level. And I agree with you. She is, in many ways, the face of British history. She's the face of British culture, and not just because she's the Queen of England, because she's this Queen.
Right.
For all the reasons that you just mentioned, and so many more, the bright smile, some of the saddest moments that we've seen, the funeral, of course, of Prince Philip, but then the happiest moments, the Olympics, the Jubilee when we saw her. I think we've become prepared to see less of her, and we have done, particularly in recent months. I don't think we're prepared to contemplate a world without her, and I think that's partly what we're doing today, I think, and to the point that we were just making today, actually is not really about this, it's about the family. It's about what you were just looking at there, and for people who are afraid and scared and just wanted to be in a car together and not with anyone.
One of her former secretaries had referred to her as constant as a North Star for Great Britain, for the Commonwealth.
I think Christiane said it when she said cocooned.
Yeah.
She provides a cocoon, a constant, a comfort to the nation. And throughout, even with the trials and the tribulations that we've seen in the royal family, she's remained separate from that, I think, and has risen above in many ways. And it's not that she hasn't been at times criticised for appearing cold or appearing reserved. She just is the best of British, I think, and
actually,
still is.
If we could just pull up the photo again of all four sort of members of the royal family in that car. When you look at their faces, I was just thinking when I saw this photo that they are all sort of symbolic of the collective sort of fear of the nation right now. If the worst were to happen, it would be, quite frankly, an emotional earthquake for the UK. And I can speak for many other Britons, have not grown up in a world that didn't have Queen Elizabeth at the helm in terms of UK monarchy.
Yeah, more than 80% of Britons have known no other monarch.
Right, she rarely gives interviews, you know, so we don't really know much about her feelings.
Which is intentional.
Yeah, certainly not on political issues, but she rarely gives interviews, and so that means there is this sort of mystery behind her.
Well, there's less of a mystery perhaps as a result of the crown, so I think even if you don't know about her, you actually project what you think of her and what you believe of her, and some part of that is the strength, is the sense of humour, some of the naughtiness. I mean, for a lot of people, and I include Brits in that, that is how, in many ways, they've come to identify her.
Did you say naughtiness?
Today. Of course. British people have naughtiness, especially this Queen.
Stay with us for the very latest on the Queen's condition and how the royal family is handling what is a very tense and difficult time. Our coverage continues after a short break.
African Voices Changemakers.
For those living with early Alzheimer's disease, Suvinade is a drink proven to slow memory and cognitive decline by 60% when taken daily over 3 years. Hold on to what matters with Suvinade.
Master your home loan with Westpac. Set up an offset account and save on your home loan interest repayments. Search Westpac Home Loans.
Two top-performing super funds have merged to form Australian Retirement Trust. Think of it as a super fund. You see, having 140 years of combined experience has its advantages. We're experienced enough to know market trends, but we're young enough to do things differently. Like investing in Swedish trains. But that's another story. Join more than 2 million members and put your super somewhere more super.
We're not just blood donors. We're the lifeblood of Australia. And together, we're a force to be reckoned with. Join us.
From next year, the VCE will include the new VCE vocational major, replacing VCAL. So, whatever your talent, pursue it under the new VCE. Search 1VCE. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Oh, Vanish Gold Crystal White. This will come in handy. White and a favourite, hey? I am obsessed with these white basics, but they're dull and don't smell the best. I'm not sure this is going to do the job.
Vanish removes tough stains better than detergent alone, plus whitens whites and removes odours.
Wow, now that's white. Stains gone, smells gone. Sheets are next.
Vanish Gold Crystal White. Brilliant whites even after 50 washes.
My brother gave his life hunting the enemy. His task is now mine.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
You have not seen what I have seen. Evil does not sleep. It waits.
This star-studded cast all have a motive. But which one is planning a perfect murder? Friday on 7 Flix.
For World Sport, I'm Amanda Davis, and this is CNN.
Crowds are gathering at Buckingham Palace awaiting word on Queen Elizabeth II. Her doctors, as you know, expressing concern for the 96-year-old monarch's health. Many of her closest family members have arrived at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, where the Queen was put under medical supervision. We know her son, the heir to the throne, Prince Charles, is there, as is the second in line, Prince William. We saw William arrive in a car with Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, his wife, a short time ago. Very unusual photograph to see them all together and to see Prince William driving the vehicle. CNN's Matthew Chance joins us now from London in front of 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's office and residence. Matthew, you're outside the new Prime Minister's office. She met and was appointed by the Queen just on Tuesday. She went up to Balmoral Castle. That was the last photograph we have seen of Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, Liz Truss is the 15th Prime Minister that Queen Elizabeth has had sort of working under her. And so it just gives you a sense of how long her period as the reigning monarch of the country has been. Her first Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, back in the 1950s. So an extraordinary sense of continuity that goes with Queen Elizabeth. You're right, I'm outside Downing Street right now. Liz Truss, the new Prime Minister, is inside. She's being told, she's being kept up to date constantly, we're told, by her aides about the condition of Queen Elizabeth, who of course is in Balmoral, Scotland. And there's a big media presence out here, of course, and one of the reasons for that is because when there is an announcement, if there's an announcement about the condition of the Queen, it's expected that Prime Minister Truss will come out of number 10 there and give an address to the cameras, to the nation, about the situation and about what's unfolded. Before that happens, and this is quite interesting, there are flags. I'm going to ask my cameraman here, Neil, to pan upwards. There are a couple of Union flags flying up there above number 10 and number 11 Downing Street. And the expectation